My name is Dave. I am from the Not So Much Chinese Secret Show, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Edelkrone Handheld Head 2. And we're going to review it and also see what else can you use this thing for. And it literally rises above the rest. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, let's talk about what this thing is. This thing, it's really weird. Let me just collapse it for you and show you how small this thing is. And so it just connects to your camera so simply. But the thing is a pancake. It takes up hardly any room at all. And it's made by Edelkrone, which some of us may know as, the, I would say, high end of the prosumer's use, right? So take a look at this. It's just, that's it. That is the Flextilt Head 2. And that's all there is to it. It's just really tiny. Now, compare this to some other of my tripod heads. And you're thinking, why, Dave, do you need another tripod head? Because you obviously have a disease that makes you buy tripod heads. This is my very favoritist photography tripod head, and that's an Acrotech ball head, which costs over $300 US. And the reason why I love it is because it's super fast. There's no grease on the ball. You can clean this out in the field in the desert of Africa, which this has been to. And this is like 20 years old and it survived me. And so the problem is for video users, there's really no way to use it to pan and tilt for video. Even though you do have a pan lock here that you can loosen, it's kind of glitchy if you were running to make videos on this. The other thing you'll notice is right when you loosen the knob that locks the ball, it'll just flop over. And so you're not going to be able to get a really smooth, controlled tilt out of this either. Now, stepping up into the video world, this is my very first video head, which is also eons old, and it is the Manfrotto 701, and it has been replaced by a newer model, but kind of the same deal. You've got the universal plate, and you've got what they call a fluid pan, but this is really stiff on this one, and I always found it really difficult to get smooth pans because there's no way to change the friction of the pan. It does have a fluid head, and so it does spring back to center a little bit, but again, there's no way to change the friction of the tilt. So it's kind of what you get, what you see is what you get. And it's a step up from the ball head if you're doing video, but it's not really as great as it could be. Now you go and you graduate into the big boy. And so I actually snapped off, broke a Benro version of this. I think it's the S4 head. I was putting too much weight on it, to be honest. I was using it as a jib control. But nevertheless, it did break the metal. And so I decided to get a bigger, beefier fluid tripod head, and that is this beast. This is the Manfrotto 502, and this is literally almost the size of my head. But it does have the ability to change the friction of the pan just by turning this red knob here. You also have the ability to change the friction of the tilt using this knob. So when you change the weight of camera you're using, you can kind of adjust this so that you get smooth pans and tilts with this bad boy. And it actually works really well, but of course the issue is that it is huge, it is heavy, and yeah, it's just a massive piece of metal, but at least it does work. So I do like this video tripod head, and it is the best one that I own that gives me fluid pan and tilt, and it's a big butt. I need to work on my butt. I hurt my back last week, so I need to work on my butt. Anyways, back to the Flextilt Head. Now, why, Dave, would you ever need another tripod head? Well, I don't, truth be told. But I was always curious, and so I picked it up. All right. And again, if you're watching this May 13th, before May 15th, 2020, it is on sale for 99 bucks. I think it's a steal at 99 bucks. Just go buy it now. I have the link in the description in the comments. Just go get it, man. Okay, but let's take a look at this right now. Well, first off, I'm going to talk about the build quality, okay? And really, it is a solid piece of aluminum. I don't know how the UK say it, but man, they just make it sound sexy. I just call it aluminum. But yeah, it is really well made, and patent pending on this side, of course. Yeah, and it looks so simple. I love the fact that the built-in bubble level is there, and it's easy to see even when the camera's mounted because the camera is raised away from the base of it. It also has a very secure method of mounting to your camera. Okay, so I really do like that as well. And so let's do that right now. Let us open this guy up. I'm gonna mount this to the camera, and mine's really, I like mine to be really locked in friction wise. Oh, the only negative I should probably warn you about is that you have to make sure when you're locking in your camera that you don't use the locking knob too far forward, because if you do that, you won't be able to close this down because this knob will hit this bar up front here. Okay, not a big deal really, and once you do it once or twice, you'll get it. So now you just take your camera, you take your Edelkrone Flextilt, and you literally just screw it in. I really think that this is a nice solid connection. They've got this nice rubber grip on the top of this camera mount, and when you're just thumb tightening it, it's not going anywhere, man. It's nice and solid. So I really like that mount system right there. So well done, Edelkrone. Now once it's on there, you can also use it, the pan. I'm gonna just pull this apart here so you can take a look at the pan mechanism here. Let's go top down for this one. And down here, you'll notice that the center that locks into your tripod allows it to rotate freely for about 340 degrees, okay? And there is no play that lets it rock back and forth, which is really nice. But there also isn't any fluid friction, okay? So you're not gonna be able to get as smooth a pan, I don't think, as this big bad boy that has fluid in there for the pan, but it is quite doable. And the same thing goes with the tilt. Like, sure, you could tilt this, but there is no fluid in every one of these joints. It's just gonna be friction. But it is doable to get some B-roll, and we're gonna do some examples of that. And right now, I can actually pan down here, and that's actually a pretty, tilt down there, and that's a pretty good tilt down, right? Even though I'm only using the friction of the arm of the Flextilt head. Okay, next, the pros. Oh, and you saw it before, it folds down, and it is teeny tiny. Like, okay, let's take this off again because it doesn't take much time at all. But compare this guy, the Flextilt head, which can rise taller than this guy, which is my fluid head of choice. But I can collapse this Flextilt head, and watch out, don't pinch your fingers, that'll hurt. This guy versus this guy. Which one are you gonna travel with, huh? Like, this is ridiculous as far as the size difference is concerned. And yeah, they do different things, but consider that I'm gonna recommend at the end here that you leave this on your camera, and then we'll talk about why, because I think that it gives you a lot more stability when you're handheld, as well as giving you other options, but let's talk more about that later. Now, the other thing is that I do find that it's very fast to change the height of the camera. Now, traditionally, if you're using it up top a tripod, you have to change all three legs of the tripod or raise the center column of the tripod, which kind of reduces the stability of a lot of the tripods that I have. With this one, you can just pull it up, and then you've got a different height adjustment. And I find that that's gonna be way faster to adjust than having to change all three legs. Now, the other thing is top down and push in. You've got the ability to do these different extra shots. And that's because unlike some of the cheaper knockoffs on Amazon and eBay, it does have an extra arm, okay? A lot of the ones on Amazon only have a Z like this, okay? Well, and that's kind of nice, right? But that extra arm, what it allows you to do is do a lot more contortions. Not only can we go top down on tabletops or any other items that you want to shoot, you can arrange it so that your dolly shots, it gives you an extra almost 7 inches for pushing in with a slider. So it really wins in that category too for versatility. So cons. You do need a tool to adjust the friction, and there are a lot of points of friction, right? You've got 2 screws up top, another 2 screws, and another 2 inset screws at the base. And that means if you were to change the camera weight, you do have to spend some time with a dreaded Allen key that isn't the same size as a standard for your camera mount to change the friction, okay? That being said, I do find that with the Edelkrone, the quality is so good that when I do change the friction, after bending and bending and bending, it doesn't loosen on me. It still keeps that friction. And so I know that there have been complaints of cheaper knockoffs where you use it and then it just lets go at the second time you bend it. That's not the case with this one. It seems really well machined and really well thought out. So I really do like that, okay? Now, The one thing that I really don't like about it, which isn't really its fault because it wasn't really sold as a tripod or a tabletop tripod, is the base, okay? And here's the problem with the base. Let's take a look at it closer. The base is circular here, okay? And so we've got this gap all around that makes it a kind of tippy. When you use this as just a standalone, it doesn't really have a firm fitting because it's one, all just metal, and two, it doesn't take up the entire surface area of the base here. I really think that this is a little bit dangerous to leave as a tabletop because it isn't quite steady. Like if I tip, I can rock it back and forth, right? So that's one thing that I don't like. Now, the competition, what do they have? Some of them have thumb screws, and I've seen that, but I don't think you could get enough grip on a thumb screw to tighten it as hard as I want it to be tightened if I wanted to secure connection on these joints. The second thing I've seen is that some of them actually have rosette hard stops, so they've got gears so that it makes sure that it stays in position. And that's kind of nice, but the problem is I've seen that when they loosen them, the whole thing flops over. Even though they have a tensioning one, it doesn't really work. Or two, you also can't tilt while you're shooting because you're locked in position. This one I can actually tilt while I'm shooting, and that's the beauty of this whole entire setup. So let's take a look at a couple of things that I do recommend as tips and tricks. The first thing is leaving it on your camera at all times. It's so quick and easy to take on and off, but why, Dave, would you ever leave this on? Well, it doesn't weigh too much, but it weighs enough to lower the center of gravity of your camera. And why would I want that? Well, when I'm handheld, one of the issues with light DSLRs like this Sony a7 III is that you show a lot of micro jitters. When you add a little bit of weight, and especially when it's below your hands where you're holding it, it stabilizes it for you. Okay, and let's take a look at some of the footage that I can get from this. I take one hand here, another hand here, and sorry for making you dizzy right now, but I can just slowly just inch over here and get pretty smooth shots there. Okay, I can stand here, I can sit here for a bit, shoot my screen, shoot there, and because of the added weight below the camera, I can hold pretty steady. And sorry, I'm talking while I'm doing this, so it's not the easiest thing to do while I'm talking. I usually kind of control my breathing, but you kind of get the point. Having that center of gravity lower and adding to the mass lets you handheld a little bit more stable shots. Now, the other thing is I recommend adding a base plate. Like I had these custom made. Thank you, Desiree and your dad for making these for me. But you don't need, like if you don't have like a custom plate like this, then I have a link in the description that I added for, I think it's called the Platypod Ultra, which kind of does the same thing. But what this will does, I've put grips on the bottom here, and so it's kind of grippy. So it's got a more sure footing, but you just throw it on here and it widens the stability of the base. It prevents the Edelkrone base from getting dirty if I'm going to put it on the ground. And I've got a much better support. So it's got a little base plate, and so it lets me pan using the base as just a strong point of contact to the ground. And I also have the ability to just raise it off the ground so I'm not going to mess up the center attachment point, the tripod screw. Okay, so I do recommend getting a base and leaving that on there whenever you need to as well. I'm going to do some pan and tilt shots for you right now. All I'll do is take the base and I direct it from the base and I'll actually turn it. Okay, and so now I'm just going to turn it right back, and that's my A10 Mini. That's pretty smooth, right? Now, there isn't any fluid in there to dampen me, but I can get pretty usable, great panning shots out of this, I think. So I'm pretty happy with that as far as the quality of the pan is concerned. And if you're seeing any jumpiness, it might just be the live stream or anything else. That could be a problem too. Now, the tilt is a little bit more problematic. So if I use this as a tilt, if I push up, because it's got 2 points as bendy points, you know, what's going to happen if I tilt down? Sometimes if I tilt up again, this second joint is going to go down. Okay, so it's not the best for going up and down in repeatable shots. Again, there's a better tool for that, and that's going to be like a dedicated fluid tripod head, right? But let's take a look at what we can do. Okay, now again, you can see me in the bottom corner here shooting. So right now, if I were to just pan up and down, I can just take, and I do like having a top handle on mine, I can just take this and then slowly tilt it up. and you can get a pretty decent tilt over there, right? And then you can slowly tilt it back down. Whoops, sorry, see? I can do one movement and not the other movement. Let's try that again. So right now we're gonna do that and pull it up. That's a pretty darn good tilt. It is, I'm gonna admit, tough to do good pan and tilt at the same time, because then you're controlling both axes at the same time, right, in a smooth fashion. It's possible, but not as easy as something like this. But again, the right tool for the right job. But this one does so much more than just pan tilt, okay? You get that extra height. You can make it as a tabletop job. But here's the best part. Not only can you use this as a tripod, but I'm finding that this is not only an added stability for handheld, but I use this as a brace against my body, my shoulder or my hip, to allow me a much better, I guess, handheld with a brace movements, okay? And let's take a look at what that means. Usually they say 3 points of contact to get a nice stable shot, right? So I've got my left hand, I've got my right hand, and further apart gives you more stability, right? And then I get it against my body. And now I've got it really solid. I can go from here and I can hand hold it pretty steady. And again, I'm talking right now, so that's not gonna help. And I would control my breathing a little bit more and not talk to you if I was actually doing this as, you know, a filmmaker. And I can actually move this fairly smoothly. Also, when you're standing up, I can have it against my hip. So now I've got a nice strong brace. And I can just slowly, and instead of turning the actual camera and the unit, I'm gonna hold my breath. And what I'm gonna do is turn my torso and with my 2 legs, because my 2 legs are locked against the ground, so it should be smoother. So whenever I can, I do love to brace my camera against my body. And this is like the perfect length for a short guy like me to add a brace to my hip or my shoulder. So I do love it. It's a multi-purpose kind of tool and not just a video tripod head. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Now, a couple of things that I do recommend, or I wish that it had. One, we can't get away from having to use an Allen key, but what they could have done, pretty please, they could have, or maybe in next version, they could do this. This is not even a small rig, it's some no-name brand magic rig, but it's just a handle, right? But what they did was they added the Allen key, they inset it in the corner, and there's little magnets here. There's 2 little magnets, so I just put this in, and I never have to worry about forgetting to bring the right Allen key. It's always with me. Now, I would love it if Edelkrone would use the edge and they would use the same kind of deal here and just put the tool right at the top here. And there's 2 different sizes of Allen key. There's one for all of the different joints, and there's a second size, which is slightly smaller for the pan adjustment, which I don't know why they did that. But anyways, I would love for them to add the tools to the base so that I never forget them. And the second thing that I wish that they would do, and like we already mentioned, the round base makes it a little bit tippy. And so if they could square it up and add some grips, that would make it a lot more usable without having to add a base, all right? So a couple of things, you know, not too bad, but honestly, this thing does so much more than just being a video tripod head. I'm willing to forgive those things. But here's the verdict, bottom line. It doesn't replace a great video tripod head. So if I was just manning one tripod all day long and my camera was atop of it, this would not be my choice, all right? I wouldn't go for the Flextilt Head 2. I'd go for something like this beefy boy, okay? Because it's gonna give me much smoother, repeatable movements for both the pan and the tilt. But if I'm a running gun kind of guy, and I am, then this is going to give me a lot more versatility. It's going to allow me to pack down super stealth, and I can use it as a table tripod for just, you know, macro photography or shooting food. It's got a usable pan. It's got a usable tilt for B-roll at least, even though it's not quite repeatable. So really it does so much more than the tripod head can. So I leave it on. I'm loving this little setup, and I hope you do too. So that's about it. But before I let you go, I do have a thought of the day. And the thought of the day is this: disappointments are inevitable, but discouragement is a choice. You should never allow the challenges that arise to steal your enthusiasm or confidence in him. Thanks for that reminder, Charles. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you got something out of that. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.